Welcome back to the Wellness Woman, episode 128. I am so excited to have my friend Kate Galli today back on the show after 2 years. Kate was on the show in 2023, I want to say, 2022, and she was in transition between moving from a big city, Sydney, to a small town. This transition changed her career, her path in a way, but something that stayed really strong and even got deeper is her commitment to the vegan community and the animals, and she will share how she's working with her clients to make the world healthier and better. So I'm really excited to get into this, but before we do, a big shout out to the affiliates that I work with, because they keep the show alive. So big shout out to Nama for the J2 that I love so much, as well as all the other wonderful equipment they have created since I got my J2. We have the C2, which includes a blender. We have the M2, which is basically a milk maker that makes barista level milks. Amazing, so easy to use, to clean, and I had my fair share of milk makers, and this one looks like it's the bomb. So if you want to upgrade your tools in the kitchen to add more plants into your life, please do consider using my 10% discount code. As you get a discount, I'm an affiliate, so I get paid to support this project. I'm really excited to also talk about Lumen, the metabolism tracker that I've been using for over a year. And although I will do a proper episode about it because it is so much to learn, I can tell you that this is one of the tools that has changed my life completely. I love to learn how food, emotions, everything, workouts impact my flexibility, metabolism, what works for me in terms of food and doesn't, and how my body responds to everything that I do during the day when it comes to burning fats or carbs. If you want to learn a little more, just get in touch with me, or if you want to buy yourself one of these wonderful tools and get support from the Lumen team as well, then you can use my discount code for 20%. I also want to give a big shout out to Newzest. As you know, I don't take a lot of supplements on, but this one I truly love, and it's a supplement that is nutritious and it's also just based on food. The Green Good Vitality is my go-to green powder because it's not just a green powder. It doesn't claim to do anything special for you other than allowing you to add more nutrients into your day, which is what exactly what green powders should do. They are not miracle makers and not a silver bullet. And if you don't eat properly, you can take all the greens you want. They're not going to make you healthy. But if you're adding on to your healthy diet, mostly plants, these wonderful green powders from Newzest, then you are going to see and feel the difference. I certainly do. So guys, thank you so much. And yeah, let's get started chatting to our wonderful guest. Welcome, Kate. Hi, Kate. Welcome to the Wellness Woman. How are you?
Chantal, I am so excited to be here, to see you again, and I'm doing awesome. Thank you.
I can't believe that it's been almost 2 years, by the way. It's just crazy, like how time goes, but I'm so happy that you're here. And I also actually, big shout out to you because where you are is 4 a.m. And so out of bed and on a podcast, respect.
Absolutely no issue. It's 6 p.m. for you, and I would genuinely find 6 p.m. much tougher. I'm an early bird, so it is all good.
Well, I think actually let's start with this. For people that don't know you first, let's give them a little background. Then I'm going to go to this question about what your day is like because I want to know your timing. So tell people who you are and your podcast that you have and your beautiful diary. Like tell them everything and then we can just get into the nice conversation that I have prepared for you.
Thank you so much. I am a vegan health coach and I exclusively work with vegans and vegans at heart. That's really important. I came from 20 years, ages me, 20 years as a personal trainer, working with very dear clients in Sydney where I spent a lot of time, and they were across the spectrum, right? They had health goals, however, they ate very differently to me. And so in the past 12 months or so, I've started working exclusively with my ideal client, and I can't even express the relief and the freedom and the just the pressure gone to work with individuals who have the same open heart and the same care for a compassionate vegan world that I do. So that's what I do these days. I have a podcast called Healthification, and that is absolutely my heart as well. It has been around for 11 years, and I basically get to interview my heroes. So passionate and compassionate athletes, doctors, activists, authors, and entrepreneurs. Love that. And then you asked about the journal. Goodness me, that was a venture of the heart as well. Version 2 is out now. It's dedicated to my dear mum. And basically, this is a daily planner and journal, yet also it plants the seeds if you're open to it. And I hope anyone with it is to living a compassionate vegan lifestyle. So it's got recipes and it's full of all the mindset tricks and strategies and focuses that, I've had the past 10 years vegan and 20 years as a health coach and 23 years vegetarian prior to vegan. It's all jammed into this beautiful journal.
Amazing, thank you. And people, if they want to learn a little bit more in the longer version, I have the other podcast that we recorded together, so they can go there and you explained everything. And you were in transition then, you were actually leaving Sydney at that time and relocating in a smaller town. So we will go into that as well because now you had the time to really put your feet into the ground and be part of a community, hopefully creating a community. I love to hear all of that. But I mentioned I want to know about your day because obviously 4 o'clock in the morning, most people, even early risers, are still sleeping at that time. And there's like the 5 a.m. club, and you have like the 4 a.m. club. And it's not just because of the time difference. So, what inspires you to get up so early, like really beyond like the 5 a.m.?
Do you know, I have the 3 a.m. club. That is normal for me. And sadly, I've trained the cats that 3 a.m. is normal as well. So if I want a little sleep in, they're knocking on the door ready for breakfast at 3 a.m. So I actually love it. Genuinely, this is precious me time where I get focused work before the rest of the world wakes up. And I guess it started as a personal trainer in Sydney where I'd start with clients at 6 a.m. and the online side of the business was always super important. So I'd love to get a bit done, often interviews, before I trained my first client at 6 a.m. So I'd get up at 4 a.m. and I'd get the most important task of the day done first before I started in the gym. And then when I moved up to Noosa, which is where I am now, paradise, but much smaller than Sydney, it just kept creeping forward earlier and earlier. And I'm not going earlier than 3 a.m. That is enough. Anything else is ridiculous, right?
And what time do you go to bed?
Very early. I'm lights out by 7 p.m. pretty
Okay.
much. If I've got something on the weekend, I have the energy for it. However, ideally, it's 7 p.m. till 3 a.m. 8 hours, fine.
Okay, but now I have to ask if you go out on a weekend, what is your sleep in time then?
My body doesn't do it. Like I'm of the belief that getting up at a set time is actually better for your body. So
Hmm.
it pretty much wakes up that early. And, I just don't rush on those mornings. I might lounge around in bed reading a book, which is just one of the most beautiful things to do.
Yeah.
So it's more that I just don't rush and maybe go to bed extra early that night to come.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Actually, as you were talking about it, like I had this feeling of warmth imagining, your space and reading a book like early in the morning and just being alone and taking the time. It's so precious because we're always rushing, like this rushing woman thing that we have going on that takes away the experience of being in the moment. So when you have the chance to actually be in that moment and really having the time to nurture yourself, it's just so precious. I feel like we really need to go back and remind ourselves of that. I know there's a movement of like the analog everything, which is good because I mean you and I grew up in a time where our childhood was phone free, computer free. I mean my uncle was like an engineer, had a computer, a thick Olivetti or whatever it was, a Microsoft, I don't even know, massive computer, and it's like you could kill somebody with that screen. But you don't, you like, we were not like, oh, I want to be on the computer, like whatever. Like he had one video game which was the Prince of Persia, which I played a couple of times, and I got bored with very quickly, and then life moved on to like not being on these things. For a period of time, I had those game consoles. I forgot what they're called now, with like Mario Bros.
Atari? Were they Atari? Yeah, 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 yeah.
No, oh my God, I don't remember. It's not a PlayStation, obviously, but like it's the precursor, very, very early precursor. Um, but in any case, I had one of those, and it's like it also got, old very quickly. Like I think we had that luxury, which is crazy to call a luxury, but we had the luxury of growing up in a time where actually being in the moment was so important, where you would call your friends on an analog phone, and where like if you made an appointment, you show up at that time. You don't just cancel last minute or are late because you can't contact people. You gotta show up, right? Like unless you died or you get like you really are sick and your mom is gonna call your friend's mom to tell them that you're sick. Like you can't behave like we behave, and I think it's so precious. So these moments in the morning that you take, I think is really good to ground and manage cortisol, which we will talk about in our chat today as well. So thank you for sharing that. Amazing. I mean, I must say, from a spiritual side, 3 a.m. actually is a very important time because it in Kabbalah, it teaches this as well. Like it's a time where the veil of your spirituality, is, like the spirit world, is very thin in the sense that you connect to your guidance much more because the world is asleep, everything is quiet, and there is it really it's I like to get up early, especially when I go onto my farm, still my farm for now, but I'm going to my farm on occasionally to see my dogs, but I like to wake up early in the morning to have as well those times where I'm just quiet. And there is a difference. There is something really magical about that time where everyone and everything is sleeping but you. And so it's why in spirituality and spiritual teachings, they said that's a great time to get creative, that you have the best ideas and downloads, and you can really, and it's true, like even when I don't get up, but I wake up and I'm in between that week, like awake state, I have amazing ideas. And I wish sometimes I just had the courage to get up and write them down because then I forget by the time it's 6 o'clock. So,
Absolutely. That deeply resonates about the 3 a.m. It doesn't feel like a hardship at all. It feels like precious, special time. And, I absolutely agree with you as well. I am so grateful that I can remember the time before we were so connected digitally because you remember how real and free that was. And it gives you, I guess, the incentive to set some boundaries in. I do a 24-hour digital detox every single week, and that is my sanity. I am literally adding back into my life so many of the things that we used to take for granted. They were just natural decades ago.
yeah, well done. Okay, let's go to speak about your journey transitioning from being a PT, because I know when you were moving, you were still going to have some clients online because they really loved working with you and they didn't want to let you go. Have you stopped working with them, or you still have some clients online for PT work?
I am 100% out of personal training.
Okay.
And what a transition. I actually did a little bit here in Noosa for a period of time. It felt like the sensible thing to do financially. And I gave it a whirl, and it actually wasn't the sensible thing to do at all. Nothing compares to the amazing client base I had in Sydney. And my time was my first year here. I was just this frantic little creature running around doing so much, like just my focuses, which is an moron in itself, right? I had so many primary focuses, from writing a new journal to starting PT to learning AI art to the podcast, guesting on other people's shows once a week as well. And it was just,
Mm.
it was manic, Chantel. That was the word. And that was, I think, 2023, probably.
Mhm.
Maybe it was 2024. I lose track. As you said, the time goes so fast. However, I remember I got to halfway through 2024 and I was miserable. My body was breaking down from all the time behind the computer. Instead of half the day in the gym and half the day on the computer, it was just these massive 12-hour days on the computer, day after day after day. And calm and clarity came to me. That's what I was seeking. And at that
Mm.
point in time, I just started journaling in the evenings. And yes, I'd created my journal a couple of years prior. However, I use it to plan my day. I don't use it to just write freely in.
Mm.
And so I started journaling, and I'd start each page with calm and clarity because they were the two words I was seeking. And I was trying to write my way to what is the strategy, right? The strategy was journaling. The strategy was sitting there and coming to terms with my thoughts and goals rather than trying to block my emotions, just writing through whatever I was feeling. And so, yeah, that was 2024. And journaling became probably the most impactful habit of my life, beyond lifting heavy weights, which I know we're both addicted to, and beyond so much more. And so that was then. And it's a habit that I cling to it like a little life raft when time gets, days get a bit messy again.
I love that you share that. And, I want this podcast to be quite personal about you also as a woman because we are in our 40s and these transition times are important. And I think I can resonate with what you just said because when I moved to Portugal from London, which like Sydney being a big city, buzzing, running, like really active, where you have a routine. Even if at some point we're like, oh my God, I need to stop this routine. It's like killing me because it's too fast. And, you appreciate that it's too fast, but we are used to it. So when we snap out of it, when we move to a place that is very, very quiet, and I'm guessing Nusa is, and you're trying to integrate, you're trying to bring with you the things that worked in a place where the pace is very different. And it just doesn't work. So you end up depleting your batteries. And as you said, like running around frantically, trying to make anything stick that you want to do because we are just so highly productive. But at the same time, we can burn out very easily. And it's like you have to change, not just the place you're in. So I completely can, appreciate what, and then looking for that calm and restore. And I mean, I've been through a transition myself, but we won't go in there because it's not about me. And but it's funny how certain things were missing for me, like that too quiet for a while. And I think for me was also the fact that we were in the pandemic. So quiet wasn't even like optional. It was just that you gotta be quiet, you can't go anywhere. But it's true that I was missing some elements and I found the balance that way. But like with everything that's been changing in the past couple of years for me. Um, but one thing that I like to ask of you from you is during this transition, like you said, your body was breaking down. What are the things that as a woman you also felt like you want to calm, you want a grounding, you want a peace, but where did you feel like you wanted to still be active and shine and you really needed to focus your energy into?
I want to share first. I'll come back to that. I want to share first. I completely resonate with what you said about moving from London because I'm still in touch with all my amazing Sydney clients. And,
Mm.
they were so excited for this Karma Noosa move, as sad as they were that I was leaving, which was sweet. They were so excited for me because they knew I just pushed myself too hard. And I'd check in with them and I'd say, the thing is, I moved to this beautiful, slow paradise, and it absolutely is. However, I brought myself with me, because we
Mm.
bring our habits, as you shared with us, and that was, and it's still something complete transparency. It's something I fight still because I have this mindset that being a strong, independent, effective woman with a huge vision for the world, I see that as a good thing, and
Mm.
mostly it is. However, I'm 50 this year. I'm 49 right now. I'm only just still in my 40s with you.
Mm.
And I still have this mindset to kind of treat my body like a machine in some ways, which really is not kind. It's not what I coach my clients. I coach my clients that you and your body are a team. And that is absolutely my mindset in the gym with exercise and nutrition. We're a team. I want the best for you. And then I get sucked into this work mindset where I just push the machine button. I just push my body to its absolute limits. And part of it, to get back to, I guess, your question, part of it is I want to have the impact and be effective and play a bigger game and make myself proud. And that is so important. And you can't just cruise along doing the bare minimum and achieve these things that we're looking to achieve.
Yeah.
But then it's a fine line to negotiate, isn't it? And your body is changing. It is getting older. Maybe the things that I can remember I got away with in my 30s, I don't now get away with in my 40s. I have to get better at listening to my body when it's giving me feedback,
Mm.
which it gives me feedback these days. My eyes are strained from too much computer, or I get RSI from too much computer, or recently my knees were tweaky from the way I sat at the computer. Like I can throw around heavy weights in the gym, no problem. But sitting at that desk all day,
Mm.
problem. So those are some of the insights.
Gosh, I really, it's true. Like sitting down for long periods of time kills my hip flexors. Like I just feel like
Yeah.
my hips are like, no, we are not sitting down. I can do yoga. I can go to the gym and lift. I don't run, but I can like, do classes. Sometimes once a week I do step, which is super trooper cardio loaded. And I love it because it's like coordinated steps. So it's like dancing, but I like sitting down. It's like if you want pain, sit down. So it's crazy.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think you go into the zone when you're sitting down as well. In our movement practices, we're so focused on our body and how it's
Mm-hmm.
feeling and the muscles we're working, and
Mm-hmm.
we're very focused on our body, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm sitting at the computer, I'm very focused on the screen.
Mm.
And so it's just, I kind of ignore my body and how it's feeling. And then after an hour or several, like you're just kind of almost stuck in place.
Yeah. My gosh, yes. It's like you're in a mold. You're like sitting there. So true. Um, Okay, I love this the things you've noticed that are happening to your body. So, as obviously on this podcast we talk about us women transitioning especially. I mean, not every episode is about that, but I think with us our conversation could be great because you are obviously like me in perimenopause, but you are at the like the early stage, like the last end of 40s going into the 50s, and generally women will go into menopause around 52 to 54. So you are around that time and noticing changes, it's definitely normal. But I would love to actually talk about, other than obviously these physical cues that you mentioned, if there is anything that you noticed with, your sleep or your mood or your patient, like anything at all. And even that things that you had to tweak that you feel like, okay, even nutritionally, you had to up some things and change others because and especially being on a vegan diet and really first of all to share with people that actually doing vegan diets properly can really benefit us anyway as women and our hormones, but also we still have to adapt and listen to our body, and there is such a thing as bespoke nutrition for the needs of the individual when it comes to the little changes that we have to make. So what are the things that you found have changed and you had to change with them?
Nutrition is probably the most minimal of it because I had that pretty dialed in. However, I do find I absolutely want protein early in the morning. I start my day with edamame and hemp seeds, which is quite a weird
Mm.
breakfast. However, that's the go. And then nutritionally, probably the other main habit that I've added is circadian fasting
Mm.
after interviewing the good stress doctor. And she talked about the 5 good stresses for our body, one of which is plant phytochemicals. So I
Mm.
was super happy with that. The other one was a fasting period each day. And so who'd have thought it might be hard to just not eat for 12 hours? However, when I was getting up at 3 a.m., eating was a little reward at 3 a.m., right?
Mm.
And so that would mean I'd have to have dinner at 3 p.m. if I wanted to
Mm.
fast. So I now work for a couple of hours before I eat, and I feel like that's been a good change. And she framed it as fasting. I don't do it for weight control. She framed it as an opportunity for your body to heal and housekeep.
Mhm.
And I felt super compelled by that. Your body's not metabolizing food all the time. It's got some time to rejuvenate, right?
Mhm.
And I was super aware that I was still pushing my body hard and it needed this time, it deserved this time. I chuckled when you mentioned tolerance or mood because Chantel, my main perimenopausal, I guess, change has been rage. The peri rage, it
Oh
is
yeah.
real. It
That's,
has felt
well, we talked about the
incredibly
dark
real
night
for
of the soul,
me.
man.
100%. Like, and it feels hormonal. It feels beyond my control. I'm someone
Mm,
that prides myself on choosing my mood and being
mm,
calm and clear and in control. I see losing control as a weakness. And so this has been quite fraught for me. It's been a journey feeling this unreasonable rage, particularly, yes, at living vegan in a non vegan world and all the unnecessary exploitation and cruelty. However, I've been aware of that for the decade I've been vegan and the 23 years veggie prior. It's more unnecessary little noises that men make. I'm sure women make them too, but the rage at unnecessary noises has actually been all consuming for me the past couple of years. And I've got to say, thankfully, just this year, I have made huge progress in it. It's been a to work on for literally 2 years now. I've been like, how can I not be triggered into rage by things that other people are doing that's beyond my control? Because
mm.
that's not a happy place to live, right? And either maybe I'm coming out the other side of perimenopause and there's less rage. I don't know. However, I want to take some credit for all the work I've done to try and calm those feelings. And as I said, I'm making progress. So that is amazing.
Very. I think you should take the credit. I mean, hormonally speaking, progesterone is going down, and that's the calming hormone. So it's normal to feel these moments of rage. Um, and to, and I think it's also that frustration at we're bombarded with a lot of information online and a lot of misinformation online. And when that information and misinformation hurts other living being which we care about, it is a tough one to swallow if you are conscious about it, if you are already really vegan, if you are navigating how to make the world better, like when it comes to environment, to respecting other human beings, to relationships, to everything at all. And I think that rage is so justified because it's like, how can people preach everything and have a stance and not understanding that every action we have comes with a consequence? And if the consequence is hurting others, that's a moment, a teaching moment to stop and actually think, okay, how do I do this better? Because clearly, if it's just serving me, it's completely narcissistic and selfish. And yes, we need to have self-love, and yes, we have to put ourselves first. But I think people are taking this out of context in the sense like, screw everybody else as long as I'm fine. And it's like, no, you have to put yourself first in the sense that you have to be in a position where then your impact can be positive to others here. And I guess from a vegan perspective anyway, and there are many other scenarios I think, and maybe you can share some of the noise you were mentioning, but from that perspective of veganism, I relate because sometimes I'm like, how do people see these images and not connect? And I really get angry when people make stupid freaking comments. Like I I don't know, I was just mentioning I have somebody that it's a hairdresser. She always mentions, why don't you eat meat? I'm like, I told her like a gazillion times. I'm like, because I love animals. And she's like, well, I'm like, have you ever spent time with a cow? Oh, I'm afraid of cows. So you eat them because you're afraid of them? Like, I'm like, anyway, I said to her, I would really appreciate if you just stop asking that question because once
Mm,
is fine, it's curiosity. Second time, I'm tolerating. The third time, I'm like, are you not listening or you're just playing
yeah.
stupid? And I'm like, I'm sorry, like talk about not having the tolerance, right? I'm like, you getting on my nerves and I don't want to be rude. Just saying. So I was just like, these people, I can't. I'm just so I really understand. Um, but yeah, if you could tell me what the noises are that you're really just getting with.
So here's the big thing. When I left Sydney, I'd been living in my own apartment in Sydney, making good money for a number of years. And when I moved to Noosa, the idea was to actually move back in with my father for a
Mm,
period of time. My dear mum died suddenly at the end of 2021. And so it's their house, and I feel closer to her being here. However, it means I'm living with someone again, and I'm still with them. I haven't moved out yet. It's not financially feasible for me yet. And actually, he's not in a place physically where it would be good for him to be on his own. So, after years of being completely independent, I am living with someone who has vastly different values than me. And I find, maybe this is a gross generalization, but I've discussed it with all my female clients. Older men just make a lot of unnecessary noises. And, that it's pretty much a perfect storm of a perimenopausal woman plus an older man. I get triggered by noises. He makes them constantly. And then the other men at the gym making stupid noises used to infuriate me as well.
The
And as I
grunting.
said, I've been, just grunting, coughing, whatever it is that's basically saying, look at me, I am here, I am man. Even sneezing as loud as they possibly can. I heard ladies on a podcast say, like, marriages have broken down because of the loud sneeze. And they kind of said, maybe you should get up and clap when it happens, because obviously, like, they're wanting applause for their performance. And anyway, after so many iterations of this is how I'm dealing with this noise, I came back to three coaching questions that I use on myself in my journaling all the time. And the first one is, how's that working for you? Well,
Mm.
it's absolutely not working for me. Getting so riled up by something comparatively insignificant, not working, not happy. Next one, what's within your control? I can't change him. I can't change the men at the gym. It's not a good use of my energy. What's within my control is just my response. Only that, nothing else. The third question is, what would it take? And that's a kind of possibility focused question, courtesy of entrepreneur Alex Hormozy. And there's not one single answer. Generally, when you've got a problem, you journal on what would it take and you write down pages of what the solutions might be. And for me, it was pretty much deciding once that I know this isn't working for me and I'm not happy with the amount of energy I'm spending on it, because energy is so precious to me. I've spent years mastering my time and my mind, and energy is the third one. Where's my energy going and is it most effective? And I just came to the conclusion literally this month, it's incredibly ineffective wasting this much energy on something I can't change. And I also brought across a filter of curiosity. I'd been trying to just view, let's say, my father specifically, just with love and compassion. That actually wasn't enough given all our differences. But adding
Mm.
a filter of curiosity, what's he going through right now? Like, maybe he needs to make this noise. Just compassion plus curiosity has really helped. It's just been the biggest shift where the noise hasn't changed at all and my response to it has absolutely changed. And that has very positively impacted our relationship, because I'm not getting annoyed by him 24/7. I'm a nicer person. Um, so that's where I'm at with it these days.
I love that. I want to break this down for people actually. So, compassion and curiosity. And this is something that is definitely missing in the world, one or the other, the two together. Um, but I like to dive deeper into this because I feel like curiosity is something that children have naturally. And I think if we look at how they behave because they have curiosity, makes them much bigger people than us adults. We are sometimes stuck in our way, right? Like something annoys us and that's it. And I think I can relate with that because when I was going through my illness and I didn't know that my adrenal insufficiency was so severe that because my progesterone and estrogen were so low that I was stuck in that loop and I couldn't think or be curious or even compassionate. I would
Mm.
get angry about things that you're like, oh my God, like good morning would piss me off. Like, come on. And so I understand. And but I also understand for example, part of one thing that really just started triggering me with my ex-husband was snoring. And not snoring because he he has a breathing problem because I mean, never been anyway. I don't think he has sleep apnea per se. Maybe in future he will have, but this is somebody that smokes cannabis. And I've said to him, look, this is affecting your breathing. because I've noticed the change, like with many things, not just that, but and if you just didn't smoke, and if you want to take cannabis, take it in a medicinal way, like take it as a butter, allow it to be really medicine, not recreational drugs, which of course was one of the biggest points of this agreement for us. But he is snoring. I had to kick him out of the room. That was the first step to disaster. Like, I don't want to sleep next to you because my sleep is so light that every time you come to bed late and then you start snoring, it's over for me. And if I don't sleep the next day, I'm not a nice person. And so like those things. And so it's really hard to have curiosity when somebody's just not listening. So kudos to you for doing that. And but now I've actually learned, like for example, at the gym, yeah, the granting and these guys like macho walking around, and I am actually practice curiosity. I'm thinking, wow, I wonder what they feel that they have to do that. Like there's like the peacocking. Like I'm a better peacock than you. It's probably between the male that they do this, and then in at home, well, with my ex-husband, when I see his behavior, even when he lashes out and he says horrible things, I actually really put the compassion and the curiosity, and I never named it. Compassion, yes. I thought, okay, I'm gonna be empathetic to him and his limitations, but curiosity is something that you make me think about it now, and I think that was part of it, is part of it, because I'm always like, how do you need to feel to be so reactive and not, um, you know, not modulated, and to just do the things you do, say the things you say, and think it's okay, that like, and it's so I react less, and so I really identify with what you're saying. Like we can't control how people behave, unfortunately. We can't even make them think about it and have an adult conversation sometimes because they're not willing. So the way you react is just for your own sanity at the end. Is like, okay, we can't talk about it, but I'm not gonna get upset about it. Otherwise, I'm gonna have like high blood pressure and not feel good and then be exhausted. And then honestly, this isn't the biggest scheme of thing. As you said at the beginning, is really not important. Like it's not
A
worth my
hundred
energy.
percent. 100%. And I think the curiosity takes us out of what are you making it mean? Like, I used to make it mean all that noise. I used to make it mean that you don't respect me. You don't care about my time. You don't care if you annoy me. You. I was
Mm,
making it mean all these really intense things
mm,
when actually probably it was just some annoying habit that he drifted into with his, it didn't mean any of those big things. It
mm.
just was what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And with parents, especially as they're older, and our mothers, if they've been together, or the wives, if parents are divorced, because of the way that we were raised with this very patriarchal society where women have to be tolerant because we are lesser, you know, seen in the system. But like if you have a husband, you're like, I'm not gonna complain, I'm gonna tolerate because like that's a peace, like you bring the peace in the house.
A hundred
So
percent.
these men, like your mom, may be tolerated and enabled a lot of that.
Yes.
And so he's used to it. So for him, it's like,
Mhm.
why are you getting upset? Like I've done this for forever. Your mama didn't have a problem with this, and now you're coming in and telling me what to do in my own house, and then they get all like macho about it. So, I can imagine that response.
I mentioned it once, and the eye roll, I thought his eyes were going to roll out of his head. My first strategy was to say calm to myself, like just quietly. And so he eventually noticed that I was saying calm very, very, very often. And he's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Oh, no, it's all good." And he's like, "No, why did you say calm?" And I'm like, "Dad, the train noises," because it sounds like a train. And uh, he basically exploded. Like he did not take it very well at all. It was a huge hit to his ego. And the lesson then was that I must change. You're not going to change.
Mm.
Yeah,
I mean, again, kudos to you because through perimenopause to do that, I mean, it's big.
it took a lot.
Takes a lot of energy and wisdom, and probably being vegan and having that, grounded energy too. But you said you also have very different values with your dad. And so living in the same home,
That
you obviously cook in a very different way. You prepare your meals in a very different way. Do you attempt to prepare meals for him so that he also eats in a compassionate way, or does he cook for himself?
Mostly we cook separately. When I first moved in, I had a little more hope because he has a series of medical conditions that are lifestyle related. He has a weird type of arthritis that, from all the experts that I've spoken to, could only benefit from whole food plant based. And, I had the hard conversation with them at one point in time where he was just complaining constantly and he was so miserable. And I said, Dad, I would be so happy to cook every meal for you if you just wanted to try this for even a month and see how your body felt. And he wasn't quite as dismissive as I thought. However, he said, perhaps I could try one meal a week. And I kind of thought that there's zero impact in that, right? Like there's zero. All the times in the past where I've cooked a meal for him and mum, he'll always add a little bit of pig to the top of it or a little, like he never eats just that meal that is super balanced and delicious and abundant and has all your micro and macronutrients covered. He'll add some animal. So, no, we pretty much do our own thing. I'll often make salad or potatoes and offer in advance, will this go with your meal tonight? Another huge benefit of circadian fasting is I now eat an hour earlier than him most nights. So I'm not sitting across from that food, which I just still find incredibly confronting. However, I guess I'm consciously practicing compartmentalization to a degree as a survival, right? Otherwise I sit there counting the bodies and thinking of how many people have died for that one meal, and it drives me crazy. Um, so yeah, we manage, and I do remind myself, what would my mum want? She used to hate when we fought. She was the peacekeeper, even though she was vegan, and that wasn't good for their relationship. She was still the peacekeeper and hated seeing us go to head. And his family, when they visit, they get pretty nervous when they see us go head to head as well. And yeah, so I try to minimize it. It's all you can do, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard with parents and it's hard with men. I must say, I was very proud of my dad when he got myocarditis and he asked for help to reverse it because he was desperate. um, and because he had gained so much weight and became obese in the process and had type 2 diabetes because he was on statin, then he was on metformin, which wasn't making him feel well. And I'm like, okay. And I put him on a fully plant-based diet. And, for a period of time, like for a year, I followed him, actually 6 months. We reversed it in 6 months. I followed him daily. Where like it was driving me crazy because I'm like, can you please tell me exactly what you're eating? And take photos and tell me measure your blood glucose. Let me see, what are you doing? Are you walking? Are you working out? Like everything and anything. And then obviously he stopped needing my help when once he got better. And now I'm like, what are you eating? And he mostly stayed plants, but he still then added fish and very occasionally other things like cheese. He says he stays away from things, but I haven't seen him in like years, so I don't know. But he looks healthier, and he's in his 70s, and he really looks good. But again, my dad also does it for because he's a narcissist and he loves himself too much not to look good. But it's at least he did it. I'm like, okay, well, his impact is better. Like I'm like, okay, think about the footprint. It's much better than before. Like he was having animal products at every meal. Now he doesn't. So that's a win. He moved to
That's a
soy milk,
huge
to
win.
oat, yeah, to rice milk. I mean, bring it on. It's perfect. Like thanks. And so, that's good. He doesn't eat cheese much anymore, occasionally, but very occasionally. He will have a lot of legumes. So, he's adopted kind of a blue zone approach, where it's nice to see because we need that. Even if I know that we want everybody to go fully vegan, but it is hard for people to switch because, and I mean, this is actually the same. We're gonna segue into this conversation shortly because it for us it was like I think some people are just more attuned to what it means. And I'm going to say that I didn't go into it, as you know, when we had our interview. I didn't go into it for veganism. I went into it for health. So for me, it was the plant-based approach. And then once I clicked, what was on my plate was the same animal that I would love outside and not hurt and not I would never kill like a turkey or a chicken or a cow or like they're cute and I like them. Then I thought, whoa, I am a bit unhinged, but okay. So you know you get that feeling like okay, I can do better here. And but a lot of people don't get there. So I this is the compassion that has to come in, like why? And then the curiosity has to be like how strong is the system that it will influence people to the extent that we live in dissonance and we don't even realize it.
Mm. Yeah, so much there. I mean, I guess to a degree, my approach now is I am so full of love and gratitude for all the vegans and the people who are vegan at heart. And by that, I mean they're open to making those changes. Maybe they find it hard and overwhelming and they need support from someone like you
You.
or I. However, their mind and heart is at least open to it.
Mm.
I am so full of gratitude for you, and I will meet you wherever you are if that is you. However, these are pretty much the people I want to work with these days. I get to interact with non-vegans all day, every day where I live, and when I'm working with someone, I want their heart to at least be on the same page, and then I'm all in with them.
Mm.
And coping with I guess coping with the all the non-vegans, the 98% of the global population, my strategy more has turned to just focusing on all the love I have for the vegans, for the 2%. I think I had this realization last year. I had a few podcast interviews that touched my heart so much. I spoke to Gary Yurovsky, as you did as well, and also investigative journalist Will Potter. And my conversation with him and his book, Little Red Farms, I was just so struck by both those men and the courage that they have in going against the norm when it's not easy. And I just consciously decided that I'm going to focus on my love for the vegans and my support for the vegans at heart, and not spend so much energy on the people who aren't there yet and might never get there. That's not where I want to spend my time these days.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, I think maybe we need to touch onto this before I go back to some questions I have about your training because you mentioned it twice. So I want to first of all ask you about your coaching, working with vegans. How are you helping vegans exactly, or people that want to become vegan, or people that are vegan at heart?
Thank you for asking. My signature program is called Thrive with Plants, and it focuses around clarity, confidence, and consistency. Clarity is the foundation for me. It's the mindset component. So, right, it's setting the stage for your future ongoing success, and this is all about getting super clear on your values and your beliefs and how they align with the goal that you're working towards. And this is what we always turn back to when it gets a little bit struggle street, because down the track, nutrition is actually going to become really easy.
Mm.
However, as you and I have been hinting at, Chantal, your relationships with non-vegans and the situation of the world, that's going to get really hard, probably. So clarity is the first step, confidence in both the eating and exercising actions. However, more so, confidence in you as a person who can achieve this. You can be one of the minority living a life aligned with your heart. And then consistency, that's the boring but most vital component of any big lifestyle transformation, right? I saw it in the gym. It wasn't the people that trained the hardest or lifted the heaviest or were the most perfect with the food. It was the people that just showed up consistently. They got and kept results. And, I have an ulterior motive with my coaching. My goal is a compassionate vegan world, right? So the more I can support my clients and help them achieve their goals, like that is just adding to my huge goal of the entire world being vegan. So
Yeah.
that's Thrive with Plants. I also do group coaching inside my online school community. We haven't spoken about community yet. However, that has probably been my biggest realization of last year. 2025 when the world just feels like it keeps getting worse. Like
Mm.
it's just bad news after bad news beyond even veganism. Just the world is tough. And again, I turn to love, I turn to community. My word of the year this year is love, even beyond that, courageous love. And community is how I'm building and nurturing this. I don't have vegan community here in Noosa where I am. And so
None?
I'm building it online. Yeah. And it surprised me. Online it can be nearly as good as
Mm.
face to face. I have online friends now in my community that I would speak to in the same way that I speak to my best girls and girlfriends in Sydney or Wellington.
Mm.
Um, so that's the focus these days.
Amazing. So tell me a little bit about Nusa. When you were moving there, you mentioned that there was one cafe that was making vegan food at the time. One. Are they still open?
Ugh. It was actually a stunning restaurant, much more than a cafe. It was the
Okay.
most beautiful restaurant. My favorite client in Sydney got me a huge voucher for this restaurant, and we had a beautiful meal there when I first moved to Noosa, and it was phenomenal. No, it's not still here. It couldn't survive as a vegan restaurant, and so they tried really hard and they struggled, and now they are gone. And there are no fully vegan restaurants here in Noosa anymore. However, there is a beautiful cafe and store about 45 minutes drive from me. They actually stock my plant positive journals. I love them even more. And they are fully plant based with their delicious menu. And then they have a huge store of fully plant based vegan products as well. So they are amazing. Very
What a
grateful for
blessing.
them. I don't get there often enough. However, the state of vegan opportunities in Noosa is pretty disappointing.
Can I ask you a personal question? And you're
Of
welcome to not
course.
answer, but I know that you're looking after your dad right now. But if your dad passed away, would you consider relocating somewhere else where you could have also a in-person community?
No, Noosa's my heart. I feel my mum here. She lived here for, 20, 25 years. She's all throughout this house. The garden is beautiful. The cats love it. Her cat's here. He gets on with my cat now. Noosa does feel like home. Sydney was home for 25 years, and the last couple of years in Sydney after mum had died, Sydney was no longer home, and I
Mm.
felt like I wanted to be closer to her. And also, I was getting older, the frantic, busy, superficial, vain city. I wanted a slower pace. I wanted nature. I live in a beautiful part of Noosa. So this is very much home now.
Okay. Would you ever consider trying a business that is vegan in Nusa?
No.
No.
I've been, no, absolutely not. I've been obsessed with online for so many years, and I'm
Mm.
finally seeing good progress online now. I've had this dream of this business. I come from one on one work as a personal trainer
Yeah.
where your impact is very capped to very local. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
I've had a team before. I probably don't want a team again. The idea of online with contractors and just no caps, no limitations, I can impact anyone, anywhere in the world. Um, that's completely addictive. And that's where my heart is. And I imagine my heart will stay.
Okay, then we have to really get you more out there because I mean, I didn't even know that you had these programs. And I follow
Yeah.
you, and I know the algorithm is not very friendly, but I think we need to definitely share more of this, and not just in the caption of this interview, but actually really talking about it more. Maybe we can do something online on Instagram and have it also on YouTube as a shorter conversation about your program alone. But I feel like this is so needed because I'm going to transition into another part of it, which is for me, one thing that's become clearly important is that I want vegans to be healthy. And I know that that's also at your core because the the fingers and the eyes are on us when we fail. And the diet gets blamed. No like, never mind that the whole world, the majority of the world is not vegan and everybody suffers from cardiovascular disease, cancer, and you name it. But the moment a vegan gets sick, it's the vegan diet. And it's like,
Mm.
can we just be reasonable? Like everyone that is at the doctor, like 99.9% of the people that are in the hospital right now are not vegans. So I don't think the diet, you can blame the vegan diet, but okay. Um, how do we do this? And so one thing that I've always noticed that I did never really appreciate it, although I've done it myself when I got sick, is that a vegan diet per se can be just as deteriorating as a omnivore diet because you can be vegan eating a lot of processed foods, eating a lot of alternatives that are prepackaged and staying away from whole foods, which inevitably will have a very negative effect on your health. But I feel like plant-based and veganism need to be really married. Like they are the match made in heaven. And so we, this is why I feel like this real need for you to actually share your program harder and really share what the results are and really share why the vegans that care for the world need to do it. Because I also do get upset with vegans when I'm like, I don't care about the food, I just care about the animals. Well, if you're falling apart, how are you helping the animals? And I also remind people like, if you fall apart and you get sick, most medications are tested on animals. That alone is not vegan. So why don't you try and
Mm.
be healthy? I know that sometimes we need medication. There's no other choice. If you have type 1 diabetes, what are you going to do? So, if you have another genetic problem that requires medication to stay alive, of course you're going to have to take it. That's a different conversation than you just getting diabetes or hypertension or whatever and having to go and meditate on medication because your lifestyle is not promoting health. It's a very different conversation. So as a vegan, your duty is to stay healthy. Sorry to tell you, So it's really impactful. So your programs are needed because there are a lot of vegans out there that just don't do it right.
Mm. I agree. One of the most powerful ways to advocate for the animals is to rock around in a fit, strong, confident, healthy body. I absolutely see that, and I attract the clients that are looking to do that as well. They're in it for their animals. However, they see the power of like living the example, right? All the
Hmm.
naysayers that we're all surrounded by, like let your body and energy and health be the proof of the lifestyle. You don't even need to say anything, they'll notice,
Yeah.
which is amazing. We all do so much, we care so much. Often the marketing component gets like laid to the side, right? And that is very much the case with my business. And as you said, the algorithm isn't on our side either. If you're speaking your heart and you're not intentionally trying to be polarizing or scandalous, or you're just, hey, this is quality information that works. Like that's probably not the most catchy. However, I can't do anything that isn't genuine, right? I'm just going to lead with my heart, and this is me, and this is work. This works, and I can't do any other approach.
No, what we have to do is really share and keep on sharing it as authentically as
Yeah.
possible. I actually want to ask you how you feel about this because something I never noticed before, but this year I have. Don't ask. Sometimes I'm really late to the party, but so there are a lot of channels online which are plant-based. But then, and I assume naturally if you're plant-based, well, you're vegan. Why wouldn't you be vegan, right? And then I listen to these channels because I have nice recipes and I'm like, oh, nice. And even brands that in the UK, for example, a big brand that was created on plants. Um, the founder, the creator, I mean, I know that her approach was mostly for environment at the beginning, but I always assumed that she connected the dots to being vegan. So of course it's like, you don't want to harm, but lately I've been listening to her podcast and with her co-host. This is the Wellness Scoop with Ella Mills and Rhiannon Lambert. I know Ella personally. She used to be my client as well, like my student and also friend. But she said it this year, like but I'm not vegan. She's not vegan, so she's raising her kids to be able to make choices and eat different things, mostly vegetarian. But now the older one has expressed, apparently in one of the episodes, that she wants to try animal products. So at home, at school, she has them. And my heart broke a little because I'm like, after so many years being on plants, not only you see the benefits on health, but like, and the environment, how can we be so disconnected to the impact to the animals, especially with her platform? She has, this podcast has 5 million downloads by now, and they only started a year ago. She has a massive marketing power within the US and globally. So it really hurt me that someone with such a platform wouldn't use it to actually save lives. And sometimes I also see the unhinged comments that they make. Like they were talking about colostrum, this new fashion about colostrum being really good for collagen and for the gut and for the skin and you name it. And one of the hosts, Ree, was saying how I'm like, oh, this is from the baby and it's the first thing that come out and it's got the immune system part of it and it's just, and then, you take it, but she has milk. And I was like, I actually put a comment on Spotify on that one. I couldn't resist, but I was like, I'm a little bit confused here. You are upset about colostrum, but you drink milk from, like, the baby's taken away from the mom. So they get the colostrum to then either become dairy cows or go to slaughter as veal because the male, like, do you not? Where is the disconnect or an ignorance? I don't know. What is it? So for me, it's just like, what is going on? So a lot of people, and they're not the only ones, a lot of people that I was looking at the recipes, all plant-based, mentioning, but we are not vegan. But why, you know, I mean, okay, sure, the plant-based health effect, I get it. But if you're fully plant-based, then freaking hell, just go vegan already. Like, what if the food, which is the hardest part for people, is taken care of? Then then just look at the stuff. You don't have to give away your leather shoes that you bought a million years ago. Like, keep them, just don't buy new ones. Don't, because they always make the comment like, yeah, well, we have a car, I'm not going to sell my car because I have leather seats. Nobody's asking you to do that. We know that the reality is you got what you got. You're not going to sell a car and buy another one. Maybe you can't even afford another one. Like, we know, we understand. It's not like we're crazy, but the choices you make from now on, that's where your impact is going to be towards not harming other living beings. Like, how is that complicated? So, how do you find navigating the online space with like so many very popular influencers and channels on YouTube are really talking about plant-based, but then it's all at some point they're just like, but we're not vegan.
Yeah. I try not to spend too much time here or energy here. However, since you asked, my heart is, I am incredibly disappointed every time I see someone who I thought was vegan and I find out they're not. My respect level just goes down drastically, or they've included non-vegan recipes or substitutes in their plant-based book. Like, I just have the courage to stand by your ethics and values. And if you change your mind, I don't agree with you. If you change your mind, leave quietly. Someone said that to me. The number of ex-vegans that lead with noise and blame the lifestyle. No, it was your poor diet. It wasn't the vegan ethic, because that's not even a diet, right? It's
Yeah.
like an ethic based on compassion and minimal animal exploitation, as minimal as is possible in a non-vegan world. But just, if it didn't work for you, leave quietly. Don't then promote exploitation to your millions of followers and make it seem so much harder than it is to live the lifestyle. It's really not that hard. Maybe it's harder for some people than it is for others. However, that's why I always go to clarity first, like to get clear on your values, your beliefs, your goal, the person that you want to be in the world. So that when you hit a little struggle street, maybe you do have some health condition and the doctor first recommends an animal product. And then you need to have the clarity and the compassion and the belief in yourself to go, hey, so what's the actual micronutrient that I need? And go source it from plants. Hire the expert that can help you do that. So, yeah, it gets me riled up. It gets me frustrated. I try very hard to focus my energy more on the people who I do have huge love and respect for. And again, that's why I've just kind of focused so strongly on that, particularly in the last year, because I just get so frustrated by everyone else, and it's not a happy or effective way to spend my time and energy.
I hear you. Um, as you know, I'm high raw, which is probably like the next level, a smaller percentage. Um, and I interviewed a while ago this woman called Eva. So Eva loves raw. And I again, I remind myself to lead with compassion and empathy when people change things. And she left being vegan, which to me means you were never vegan. You left being
Yes.
plant-based. So that's another thing I get really ticked about when people are like, I'm not vegan anymore. You were never vegan. Period.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, um, I and I will share something in a minute if you let me, but again, I don't want to make it about me, but I'm gonna share because I want to give the example. However, she now shares online. She has one episode. Thankfully, she's not posting much on online, but she had another episode with another creator who I think for a personal, she probably is there because she has other self-esteem issues. Like she doesn't, like, people that went into the extreme, like raw, complete detoxing all the time, not like raw because I love raw. Like, Christina, she does raw for 20 years. She's doing it really well. And she has adapted her approach to stay vegan when she wasn't having any salt, she wasn't having enough fats, and she's up the game to make sure she gets more nutrients and everything she needs. She's found a way, so everybody can find a way. Like it's not find a way. It's not just like it's crazy. There is a way to do it. Like even Brenda Davis, she has a book becoming raw now. Of course she herself thinks, like, I feel like we should all have more raw, and it's harder to get everything when you're fully raw, but it's still possible. There's so much science in that book that tells you exactly what to do not to be deficient. So I think this is the first thing that I've seen, and now she has this video that blames the diet, calls it a cult. And I'm like, no, the cult is not the raw diet. The cult is the fact that you people got stuck into always detoxing, always cleansing, like into that part. Like those are fun practices when needed. And a fun practice is maybe like you change the season, let's do 3 days of juicing. Okay, but like then you eat normally, you live normally, you're not always cleansing. Like your body's always cleansing, otherwise you wouldn't survive living on this planet. We are exposed to toxins
Yeah.
all the time. But yeah, I feel that that's really a big thing. And now what I was saying about, like, for me being vegan is so important. Like I love animals. I last year I went through a time of real stress, and I've been struggling to like maybe I mean, I'm feeling really great. I feel full of energy. Like I don't have my blood work is pretty good, but I lost my period. I became amenorrheic, and it's because my body fat percentage is like 11%. I'm really low fat percentage. So I know I need to do something about it. And trust me, I've been trying like once a week. I actually have probably fat for the whole week. Like I'm on nuts and seeds, but I really during the week I'm running around and I go to my staples and I actually don't feel great when I eat too many fats. Like my body doesn't love them. So it's an effort that I have to make, right? But I'm like, okay, what is the priority here? I cannot go crazy too many with many things. So when people are like, well, just eat eggs. I'm like, no, because I'm vegan. And even if I had I mean, maybe if I had a chicken that ran around in my garden and she's like laying an egg and not doing anything with it, would I consider? Not really, because I don't want to. Like to me, that's just not. It's a slippery slope as well, so I wouldn't do it.
Yes.
But that would be okay in the sense of ethically speaking, like because I went to this farm, like a quinta, which is not a farm for animal, like to exploit animals. They have two goats running around, they have two horses running around, like it's just a nice place for yoga retreats, but they have some animals. And this chicken just came in front of the door and laid eggs and just left them there. So she wasn't actually hatching them, she was just leaving them there. So the person that was with me, she eats eggs and she had them, and I was like, Actually, this doesn't upset me because I think actually you should go and thank her because she clearly gave you a gift because she just laid it and left it here. But I said to her, but I want you to be mindful that when you buy eggs, this is not the same thing. There's harm. Like
Yeah.
this chicken is free. She does whatever she wants and she decided I'm gonna lay an egg in front of the door, leave it there, I don't care about it. It's very different to being forced to lay eggs and so on. So and the person was like, oh, I never thought about it. Well, now you can. Now you know. So probably you will think about it, I hope. But again, like I wouldn't want to do that. So when people are like, it's the vegan diet, I'm like, no, it's not the vegan diet. I feel I take full responsibility. Like I know I need to do something about maybe hiring my like upping my calorie intake and maybe working out a little bit less because I do things a little bit. I'm an athlete at heart. Like I've always been very athletic as a child, and like when I start doing my workouts, I'm like I want to see how much muscles I can create. I mean, my lean muscle is super high, I mean the 80%, 85%, like, of course it's normal when you have low body fat. So I know I'm at the competitive stage, which is not where you want to be all the time. So I know that it will change, like I go through seasons, but I'm not going to blame the diet because I know that so
100%.
what have I started doing? I've started adding a little bit of protein powder. I started adding a little bit of, I started taking a supplement, a raw supplement. Well, only not raw because it's raw. I actually don't care. It's mostly because I really like the brand. Um, but I started taking things, and actually, I noticed my hair got better. Like it was a bit falling last year and thinning, and I think I was a little bit low. Maybe when I did my blood work, the ferritin wasn't low, my iron wasn't low, but I think I was going down probably, and so there was an impact.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna acknowledge the fact that I went through a lot of stress last year, like, and I'm still going through a lot of stress, probably life. So I am going to acknowledge that that's going to impact humongously. And my body's just like, I don't have the space to bleed, sorry, or to
Yeah.
ovulate. Like, we're not going to have children right now. So I'm also compassionate about the fact that the body is actually super clever and it's protecting me because I couldn't afford a pregnancy right now. So, I mean, of course, also from divine impregnation, but, if anything, don't worry, body, there is no pregnancy on the horizon. But my body doesn't know that. So she's like, no, we're gonna keep you safe. Um, but it's funny like how easily people would point the finger at the diet, and I'm like, okay, but what about people that have amenorrhea and because of PCOS? Like you guys, you cannot judge. You have to just be quiet if you don't have anything clever, nice, or intelligent to say, because everybody's in different circumstances, first of all. And it's like it's amazing. So I wanted to share this because this really relates to people blaming the diet and then leaving. As you said, they don't leave quietly. They make a lot of noise about it. And it's just like, and no. And I did not and I think it's poor taste to have, oh, the vegan community is a cult and kids shouldn't be vegan. We have plant-based juniors who show how you can have very healthy children being vegan. We have guidelines from government website that say a vegan diet is appropriate for all stages of life. And you have to do it right, you know?
100%. What I love, you're taking absolute responsibility. I love the kindness and compassion you have for your body and the space, the season that you're in right now, right? When I was in my most stressful period of my business life, when I was in the business from hell, which was a gym franchise, and it was mandatory that all owners needed to compete in a body sculpting competition,
Oh, wow.
either a marathon, which wasn't aligned with my goals, or a body sculpting competition. And I got down to 12.9%. So 11% is incredibly lean. 12.9% is not healthy. And it wasn't healthy for me. My period stopped. And it's amazing. It came back the second I sold that business. Within a couple of weeks, it was
Wow.
back. And, it was stress and an unnaturally low body weight. As you said, you're at competing weight right now, and even the competitors don't stay there. However, as you've recognized with compassion for your body, it's a season. You're being responsible. Um, you'll find your way out of it. You look amazing, by the way. However, if your body's struggling, then yeah, maybe it needs a few more calories, and you'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to really be like, okay, you know, um, yeah. I wanted to share that. I think it's really important to take responsibility. We can't just point fingers at a diet. We are doing the diet. The diet is not imposed on us, but having our values straight and knowing why we do something is so important. And ultimately, as you said before, like take a stand. What do you stand for? I don't appreciate people that are just politically correct and want to do everything not to have an opinion so people don't go at them. Just take I was like that. I used to hate confrontation, but like we have to have a stand. We have to take a stand. We have to know why we're doing something and be authentic in it and then recognize that not everybody's going to agree. But do we like everybody? No, there's many people I don't like. Do we want to be friends with everybody? Absolutely not. So I'm
Yeah.
like, if you don't want to be if you don't want to like everybody, why do you care that not everybody likes you? Like, why is it so important? This really shows low self-esteem.
Yeah. We have to take a stand, and also we have to support the like-hearted and like-minded people who are taking a stand. You know, the people who have the courage to make change. They need our support. I mean, again, this was a recognition I had after speaking to Will Potter. Like that man, his courage in the face of some pretty fierce enemies, like
I
the
need to
FBI
speak
and
to
the
him, I
American.
feel.
You
And
do need to speak
listen,
to him. Um, yeah, and it just the hate he's gotten online from vegan groups as well. The same as Gary gets hate from vegan groups.
yes, I know, I noticed.
And I've heard so many times, dear friends of mine that are maybe nervous to share my content. They won't post their own content online, even non vegan content, and they're nervous to share or like mine because of the potential hate. I just don't get that. Like, if you're clear on the person you want to be in the world, and someone else is also being that person, and you respect them for it, then have the courage to support them and be visible and vocal in your support of them. I am just so passionate about that these days.
Yeah. And you mentioned Gary, we both talked to, and I heard some vegans being like, "Oh, he says this, he says that." And I'm like, "You know what? He's frustrated because he's been grinding at this for so many years and sees people behaving like morons. You might say the same if you were in his shoes." But when I talked to him, I loved our interview, and he actually loved it too. He sent me a beautiful message after. And it's because I said to him at the end, I said, I don't think you hate people because it's like, I don't really like people. I'm like, I think you don't hate humans, really. I think you don't appreciate, you don't like, and I'm not even going to use the word hate. I just think what hurts you is people that are consciously wanting to stay in the dark and do harm. And it's not everybody, but it's the people that should know better and don't do anything about it. And so you get
Yeah,
frustrated. And he said, yeah, I guess because I don't think you hate humanity. I just think you hate the lack of it in people, and I really see him that way.
absolutely. I do as well. I had to laugh though. He was all about this is Gary version 2.0 and kindness and compassion and no confrontation and looking after my own health. And I'm seeing his clips right now and I'm like, Gary version 1 is right back and I am here for it. Like you've got all the anger and the passion and as you like I completely understand that. I feel seen seeing him and the way he communicates. He's communicating my heart very effectively. I'm super
You can't
grateful.
argue against him if you think about it. He's
No,
logical. He's well put
yes,
together. He's educated. I understand that he was exhausted. I understand he had a massive breakdown and he had to leave. And I know he says his brain is not the same, and I just think that fatigue was probably also pausing from what you're doing, daily, day in and day out, especially with the activism. Um, that there must be a little bit of trauma as well because he's gone through a lot.
yeah, for
But
sure.
I think with a little bit of time and conditioning, and I'm not meaning conditioning as in I'm meaning conditioning like massaging the muscle to return back
Yeah,
to normal. Um, he probably will be able to shine again, and this is what he's doing, is promoting more because especially when, you know, as he is go his partner, oh now wife, I think, she's Spanish. Now I live in Portugal, as you know, and when you are in these countries, this is something that gets me all the time. Like I sometimes imagine being like the guy from Taken, you know, Liam Neeson, and like just putting my car in front of these trucks. I see these trucks full of pigs.
Yeah.
I can't breathe. I cannot breathe
Yeah.
because, especially because I know that the most killed animals in this part of the world, in the Iberian Peninsula, are pigs. Because they just, in Spain, they have the jamon and all these products. Here in Portugal, like pork with everything. And my heart just stops. I see these beings. I just, I just want to like stop my car in front of the driver, kidnap him, throw him in a ditch, just free all the pigs on the highway. And I'm just like, in my head that happens, but in like I don't do it because I'm like I'm gonna so go to prison, and then I'm like, what am I gonna do with myself? But it's crazy. So I think when he travels here and he sees that, for him who's been actually liberating these animals, freeing them, that must be something really deep that just gets that anger out. So I think his content now is like coming back.
Yeah.
And how can you blame him, right? How can you blame him?
100%. Yeah, you've got to speak your heart, and he does it effectively.
He
So,
does. We have the plant-based treaty. Probably you heard about it. It was
mhm.
created by Animal Safe actually. So Anita, I should know her name because she's our leader. But okay, but I joined the Portuguese chapter, and I started a little project here in the little city I'm in, Braga, for environment. I didn't call it vegan, but it's called Elevate Plant-Based, but the meaning is vegan. And even with, sometimes I have to remind the expositors, I have a little market once a month that is vegan. I have to remind some people I didn't notice before that they had some products that had beeswax, and I'm like, you cannot have beeswax here, sorry.
Mm.
And so educating them about it, and never thought. I mean, it's just like, again, I'm not gonna get angry and horrible to people. I'm just gonna explain it to them. It's like, if you want to stay here, things have to change. You can't be telling these things. Sorry, I had to even tell some of the expositors that they couldn't have lunches that were not vegan in our venue, and be like, if you are not getting this and you want to eat your animal products, your flesh of an animal, then you have to go out. You can't be here for it. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna, of course, I cannot kick you out as an exhibitor because that would be just stupid. And, but I mean, I said to them, but at least can you have the sensibility that when you come to an event that is fully vegan, so you can eat a vegan meal and you won't die, like,
Yeah, a
whether you eat it here,
100%.
but like even thinking today's a vegan day, it's a Saturday a month, you can do this, you
Yeah,
know.
you get to set your boundaries. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
you have to. So I'm always educating people about it because I'm like, we have to. It's mindless. And Portugal doesn't have a strong vegan footprint at all.
Which is why, same as where I am,
You are.
right? It's why the work that we do is even more important, right? It's tougher to be surrounded by people with completely different values and ethics
Yeah,
to you. However, it's so important that we are here. And that's what I keep reminding myself when it gets a little bit frustrating from time to time.
I hear you. And I think you made amazing strides. And I will say, obviously there's a difference in your demeanor from 2 years ago before you moved from Sydney to here. And I mean it with love, and I mean it in the best way possible. But one thing that hasn't changed is your commitment to as to why you do things, and your compassion towards the animals and being vegan and the importance of it. You're going obviously through a transition time, like you don't have the financial flexibility you had in Sydney. You don't have your own space. Like, you have adapted to so much. So I can see that in your energy. You're going obviously through our stages and changes in our hormonal levels and womanhood. But I think as you will get into the other side, like in your 50s, even as you go through menopause, one thing I know about this transition is that, and I've seen in so many of my clients, is that if you have that fire in you, which you have, that transition is really the launching platform for something amazing, bigger and stronger. And I think you will have, not far from now, a time where you will actually start really seeing your career shoot for the stars, not only because it's needed in this world, but because even the stars are aligning to that. Like, we just don't have the privilege of treating the planets and the animals like we have been doing for so many years,
Mhm.
because everything is falling apart, and we cannot deny the catastrophe that our geopolitical catastrophes, but also like our environmental catastrophes that are happening because of the way that we are treating the planet. And it is only one big impact, and that's going to be having a kind vegan plant-based approach to our diet that stops hurting animals, so we can stop breeding them for food when we do not need to have them.
Those are kind words to say, and they resonate. Thank you. I will say I have so much more energy now to work with the ideal, like-hearted client. I thought I was burnt out from one-on-one work. No, I was burnt out from working with clients who were incongruent, right? And I have all the energy in the world for the right clients. So yeah, thank you for sharing that though.
You're welcome. Well, okay, where can people buy your programs and your wonderful, beautiful diary?
Thank you for asking. The main website is the best place to connect. That is strongbodygreenplanet.com. It connects you to the Plant Positive Journal, the Healthification podcast. It will also direct you to my school community. It's a free community. It's called Plant Positive as well. And it's 350 plus people, like-hearted, from plant curious to passionate vegan animal rights activist, which is how I'd label myself, with love, and all of that via strongbodygreenplanet.com.
Amazing. And they all on, like, all over the world?
Yeah, school's an amazing platform. You and I can talk about it offline.
Yeah.
However, it is a community building platform for community builders, and it's basically replaced social media in my life. It is an amazing free source, and there are plenty of vegan and plant-based communities on there.
I love that. I honestly would take 300 people that are engaged, committed, and really responsive over the 8,000 plus followers on Instagram, who are
100%.
just useless. So
Yeah, for
thank you very
sure.
much.
For sure.
Well, I want to just say thank you so much for being here and sharing, as always, your heart. And I can't wait to, do more sharing of your program. So we'll plan something offline, because I mean, you talk about it and I'm excited about it. Totally.
Thank you so much, Chantal. Thank you for your beautiful energy, your beautiful heart, your collaborative, supportive spirit, and for everything that you are doing in the world. I'm so glad we've reconnected. I can't believe a couple of years flew by. However, you've been through a lot and you are looking and doing amazing, very inspiring.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having me on your show again.
Thank you, sweetheart. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yes. Bye.
What an awesome conversation. Thank you so much, Kate, for being on. And guys, thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about Kate, please go into show notes. I've linked everything there for you, her page, her school details. And I think it's really important that if you are already in the vegan community, or if you are plant curious and want to really learn more about the lifestyle that goes with a plant-based diet, please check out her page and her school setup, because it's like a community you can join for free and truly just hang out with people that get you and can help you, especially if you need support, if you're new in this. And as always, growing the consciousness of the planet, it takes a village. It's a community effect. It's a community effort. So guys, I truly value your opinions and your support for all my guests and for me as well. So to ask you a big favor, please go and show some love to the show. Go on to your Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you're listening or watching this, and please share your thoughts, your comments, ask questions. Let's engage. The more we go up with engagement, the better I can do at inviting amazing guests. Some of them don't want to come on little shows, and I want to be able to talk to everybody and really bring the conversation forward. Although I do love speaking to people that don't have a big platform, because that way we can actually give the voice to those that don't have any, including the animals. All right, see you soon. Bye.